They say when money realizes it's in good hands, it wants to stay and then multiply in those hands. The question is, how good are you with the money that's in your hands? Thank you for joining me today on the Women Series program, where we capture developments and stories that impact women. My name is Ayomide Oguntoye, and over the last 2 weeks, thereabouts, we've been talking about investments and how to have generational wealth. I mean, we're in a time where these conversations we need to start talking about. We've talked so much about savings. We've talked so much about emergency funds. How about we start thinking about creating generational wealth? And the conversation today continues on that part. But before we go on, I have a beautiful guest in the house with me. So beautiful, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation for today. But before we go on, let's go on a short break and I'll be back.
Tune in to Web TV Daily to stay up to date and informed on the financial market, personal finance, and more. We have got you covered with all your favorite TV shows, economy and politics, market review, women's series, millennial talk, Islamic Finance Weekly, The Brief, exclusive interviews, events, and we keep you up to date on all the updates in the financial market with the market opening gong. Watch premium content. Watch Web TV. Same news, different perspective.
Welcome back if you're just joining me. This is the Women Series program where we capture developments and stories that impact women. I've said it times without number. Don't ever get tired of me saying that, because that's what we do here. We want to encourage you and want to capture stories and tell you how to effectively grow your wealth. Today we're talking about something I've found very, very important, and how when it concerns money, and that's making money, managing money, and multiplying money, all encompassing. And this conversation revolves around financial literacy. Today, I'm speaking with the beautiful Ashley Immanuel, the CEO of EFINA. Hello,
Hi.
Ashley, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
How has the year been so far for you? I mean, I know this is like the last month in January, but I mean, how's it been so far?
It's been good. It's been good. I think that we're starting the year with a new energy.
I love that.
And looking forward to 2022.
Yeah, I was saying that to someone 2 weeks ago or thereabouts, I think. And I was saying that this year we're having like a different feel, a different energy. Everyone is having like so much drive to do better for themselves.
Yeah.
And I feel like this energy also needs to be transitioned into how we take our financial literacy serious, and how we even handle the little money that we claim we have. And yeah, true, because everyone would not say, nobody will say I have a lot of money. Yeah. Everyone wants to say that they have the little money. So the little money that everyone have, I think we should translate that or transition that energy into how we spend money. So let's quickly go straight into today's conversation. 3 principles that guide money: making money, managing money, and multiplying money. Now, we've been having conversations around investments. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, we've been having conversations around investments, and I find it very, very interesting. But before we end this whole conversation around investments, there's something important I want us to talk about. Of course, that's the 3 concepts of relating to money. I feel like we've gotten to a point where a lot of times we're stuck at one point. That's the making of money. And then transitioning from that point to the management and then multiplying, that's where we can now start talking about investments. A lot of people don't get that gap. It's not connecting yet. And that's what we want to talk about today. So firstly, what do you think about the concept of making, managing, and multiplying?
Yeah, I totally agree that I think it's really important for all people, and especially women, to really be thinking actively about all 3 of those pieces of the puzzle, because you can earn more and more, but if you keep spending more and more, what's the point? You're still in the same position.
You are stuck at one point. You're never moving.
Exactly. So I think that, and to the point around financial literacy, and for EFINA, we think about financial health. So we're really concerned with improving the financial health of all Nigerians. And an important part of financial health is being able to first of all, manage your money day to day, to have the money available when an expense arises, but also be able to be prepared if there's a crisis, to also be working toward long-term goals.
You've talked about the points where women, at least everyone knows, okay, you have to do something to make money, right? But then transitioning from that point A to point B, what's missing?
Yeah, so so even on the making money, I think that there's probably some more as women that we can be doing. It's really interesting. So EFINA does a nationally representative survey every 2 years called the Access to Financial Services in Nigeria survey. And in 2020, we added some more measures around financial health, and we also added some more measurement around gender. And one of the questions that we asked for the first time is, who has the final say on whether or not you work to earn income? And you may not be surprised to learn that women were much less likely than men to say that it's their own decision whether they earn income. And this is all adult women, all 18 and over. So I think that there's more work we even need to do around empowering women to earn income. And when women are in the workplace, they can think about really what's the future of work and what are those future skills and how do they invest in them? So digital skills, for example, but it could be a range depending on the industry. And then I think a really important piece of the puzzle we can also think about, and you mentioned this before we started the interview, is mentoring. So I think that if we look at mentoring, but also sponsorship, which is when a woman, well, it could be a man or a woman, but in this case, I'm talking about women. If a woman is not only mentoring, kind of guiding another woman, but actually trying to take an active role in helping that woman advance in her career. I think that those are some important pieces of the puzzle around the making side, right? So these are ways that we can think about really women earning what they have the potential to earn and kind of getting that hopefully fair income. But then to your question around shifting to managing. So definitely, whatever you're making, if you're spending all of the money you make, you're still kind of at the end of the day stuck in a very vulnerable position. So it's really important to think about budgeting. And we see that, Nigerian women are thinking about budgeting. Our research finds that about 60% of Nigerian women are actively budgeting. So it's better than nothing, but it could be more.
It could be more. It can be better.
Yeah, and then also just thinking of really understanding what are the tools available to them for managing their money. So we see that in the EFINA A2F survey found that more than half of Nigerian women are saving money, but a lot of them are saving informally. So they're saving under the mattress. They might be saving with a savings group. And those play an important role in their lives.
And that's why financial literacy comes in.
Exactly, because only 25% of adult women in Nigeria are saving with a regulated provider, like a bank or a microfinance bank. And getting into the system, so having a bank account is often an important entry point to then having access to a lot more tools to manage money. So if a woman, now there are digital apps that you can use to help manage. But you have to be managing your money digitally, or it helps if you're managing your money digitally. If you have a bank account, then that opens access to a lot more investment products. So to your last M around multiply, right? Now there are also, in particular, some more kind of fintech solutions have come on board recently that are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission that make investments sort of more accessible for Nigerians, even if the amount that they have to invest kind of at a full range of investment levels. So if a woman is, maybe starts the journey with opening a bank account or, in some countries, opening a mobile money account, getting into the digital system, kind of creating a digital footprint and starting to understand how to manage her money, via her phone, for example, then that often opens up doors in terms of her being able to then use some of the digital investment options or open, even with a brick and mortar account, open a formal investment account. And then there are also other important things she should think about, like a pension account.
Yep.
So in Nigeria, we know that large employers are required to provide pension.
Yeah.
So, for a formal company like EFINA, of course, we provide all of our employees with pension and pension matching automatically. But only 7% of Nigerian adults work in the formal sector. And that's pretty much the same percentage of Nigerian adults who have pension accounts. But there are options. PENCOM has created micropension regulations for micropension accounts. So people, even the market woman, for example, who's running her own business, can actually have access to a pension.
Yep.
And start, hopefully when she's young, start building some retirement savings that will multiply over time and provide assurances when she's older.
I mean, you've summed up all of those things. I hope people understand exactly what we're talking about. I mean, you've talked about making money and how you can also increase even how to make money. We've talked about mentorship. You've talked about sponsorship, which backstage we're talking about. I feel like it's very, very important. But leading to my next question, you mentioned that a small percentage of women are still keep their money under their bedspread, right? Of course, that's like the model they've trusted over years.
Yeah.
And maybe it has worked for them. To be fair, some research have proven that this thing over time has worked for them. Maybe it's not helping them to grow their wealth, but it is working for them. Now, leading me to my next question, do you think that this happening is as a result of lack of knowledge or lack of trust on their part and maybe commercial banks or financial institutions? And from your experience as the leader of EFINA, what are the constraints for women in Nigeria transiting from making to managing money? Do you think it's as a result of lack of energy or lack of trust? I don't know, either of all of these things affecting them.
Yeah, those are some good questions, but important ones. I think that to the first question around, why is a woman keeping money under her mattress? I think that there are several different factors that we need to be aware of, and then we need to be kind of deliberate. And by we, I mean everybody, regulators, financial service providers.
Even the person who's involved.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Everybody sort of across the board needs to be aware of. So if you take the question of why does a woman keep money under her mattress? So one kind of answer is around access. And access can sort of have multiple factors to it. So first of all, women, if people are accessing financial services at bank branches, we know that those are mostly in urban areas. Even for a woman who lives in an urban area, it might be difficult for her to leave her house, leave her children, maybe to leave her market stall if she's, running her own business. To go and queue in a bank branch. So for EFINA, for a long time, we've been advocating for agent networks for bank or financial service agents who are more accessible to women. But we even need to think about, where are those agents? We need to think about the gender of those agents because global research has shown that women are more likely to trust, to be willing to kind of transact with a female agent. So that's kind of one thing we think about in terms of access. We also think about, something like ID. So a lot of Nigerian adults, unfortunately, do not have a kind of a formal or digital ID. Women are less likely than men to have, and even, we're really hopeful that the current drive for NIN will expand access to digital ID. But we see some unique barriers around that. So some women say they're discouraged by their husband. Some women also have trouble, even leaving their house to go and register and so forth. So just to say, even at that starting point, is difficult. It can be more difficult for women to just open an account to start with. And then to your other points, trust is a really significant factor. Research done by EFINA has shown that levels of trust are really strongly correlated with the types of financial services people use. And when we do research, it seems like every time we run a focus group, somebody has a cousin's neighbor who, fell victim to, when maybe a microfinance bank closed 15 years ago. But that person till today does not trust microfinance banks. Yeah, so we really need to think about how do we build trust? And then also just part of that is making financial services approachable for women. So do they have to fill out a 3-page form in English? A lot of, when you look at maybe rural women, for example, that they may not be able to do that. That might be intimidating for them. If you think about also, is there value for the woman? Because when we talk to people, they say, look, when I have my money under my mattress or I keep it in my wrapper, it's always there. Nobody can tell me bank is closed. I can get it when I need it. I can see it. I don't have to worry about anybody running away with my money. So there's a value to them, and they also see it as free, right? Because there's some risk.
Charged.
Yeah, there's nobody charging them for it. So it's the responsibility of the financial service provider to come up with a solution that's better than that, right? Because if you say to a woman, open a bank account, but all she sees is, oh, I have to leave my market stall for an hour. I have to go pay monthly fees. I can't, sometimes the ATM's not working, whatever it is, then what's the point? It's logical for her to prefer just transacting in cash.
I mean, that is where we still have the gaps are not connecting yet, right? And now, based on all of this research and all of this survey you've described and what you've found out based off of the research, now what can regulators do, like CBNs and the likes, to improve financial inclusion for women?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So for EFINA, driving financial inclusion for women has been one of our strategic focus areas since we were founded. So a few years ago, we partnered with the central bank to do a deep dive assessment of women's financial inclusion. And then after that, we worked with the CBN and the industry. So there's a working group called Special Interventions Working Group that includes the CBN, other regulators, representatives of financial service providers and so forth, that was formed to achieve financial inclusion objectives, including women's financial inclusion. And that group created a women's financial inclusion framework, which EFINA supported the deployment of. So we helped kind of finalize that framework, which was formally launched in 2020. And that provides a really great roadmap, because we just said that there are multiple different challenges around women's financial inclusion. So you need multiple different solutions to happen at the same time. So the short answer is really implement the Women's Financial Inclusion Framework, which I know is a priority for the Central Bank of Nigeria and is something that we are, EFINA is also supporting the CBN in doing this year.
Hopefully we'll start seeing changes, all of those things that needs to be implemented to help this set of women, especially the rural set of women, because a lot of times we leave them out of the box, because they're like, we only need them during politics and during elections and whatnot. But we need to start also encouraging them outside all of those times when we need them the most. Now, the last question, because they're already hurrying me up. Now, in the area of innovations, because I know you talked about that the other time, innovations, products, and services. What can financial institutions do to start help women to leverage on the money they have to now start thinking about generational wealth?
So that's an interesting question, because you're right. It's more, if you just keep your money in a savings account,
it's not going to grow.
You're really effectively losing money over time, because the return on the savings account doesn't keep up with inflation. So I think that there is a lot of innovation that can happen around opening access to different investment solutions. And like I mentioned, we've seen some innovative solutions come into the market, and I think that we'll see more. So there are now kind of some fintechs that are enabling people to, let's say, invest in the stock market or invest in securities more easily, or invest in higher return funds, like kind of money market type funds that are lower risk, because really a woman needs to have a combination of different types of investments. She needs to keep some money in a lower risk instrument.
I think we talked about that the other time. We talked about having a portfolio diversification.
Okay, great. So you've covered that. Yeah. So I think we see some more innovation around opening access to those solutions, because traditionally in Nigeria, it's mostly been high net worth individuals who have gone to open an investment account and then have access to invest in stocks, to invest in real estate, to invest in businesses, et cetera. And so I think that some of the kind of new types of apps or services that allow people, maybe they can't buy an entire share of stock, but they can buy a fraction of a share now. So they can actually take 50,000 naira and invest it in the capital markets. I think that opens up options for a much wider range of Nigerian adults and women. Some of the crowdsourcing. So if you think the Crowdy, all the apps that have Crowdy in their name, those kind of open up access to investment in maybe agriculture or real estate or something like that.
Commodities, basically.
Yeah, and they can have the different types of different levels of risk. And I would encourage, anybody who's opening those kinds of accounts to check, is it regulated? A good provider should clearly state on if it's an app, it should be stated on the app, or if they have a physical branch, it should be stated at the branch, regulated by whatever it is, like CBN, SEC, the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation insures certain kinds of accounts. So that should always be written there. But if those are and then some different tools have different higher levels of risk, which is fine to have some of those in your portfolio. But I would usually check to make sure that they're at least regulated, so that that they're doing what they tell you they're doing, and they're not kind of running away with your money or behaving imprudently.
Basically, just running a background check, and then be sure that you're not being scammed. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's not some people just trying to tell you get one, get two, get one, bring one, and then get two. All this kind of Ponzi schemes. So I get that point. So quickly, maybe in next 30 seconds, what should we be expecting from EFINA in year 2022?
So for EFINA, we'll definitely have a lot more insights and research that we're going to be publishing. Everything is always on our website, which is EFINA, EFINA.org.ng.
Now, so some people might not know the full meaning of EFINA.
It's Enhancing Financial Innovation and Access. But EFINA for short.
EFINA.
And then we'll be doing a lot more work around accelerating women's financial inclusion as well.
I love that. I love that. The fact that we're all thinking about women, we're not leaving them out of the box, and then we'll drive everybody all encompassing. Like I usually say, it's not a gender war. We're not only trying to promote women, but also trying to promote everybody.
Exactly.
Inclusive. Thank you very, very much. Are there other things you'd like to add?
No, that's all. I just want to say thank you so much for this conversation. It's a topic I think we're both really passionate about. So we look forward to continuing our work and hopefully discussing again in the future.
Thank you very, very much. And that's all we have for you on today's episode of the Women Series. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. One take home for me would be mentorship, sponsorship when it comes to making money. That's like the starting point. And then when we can get it right from the foundation, definitely it's a smooth ride sailing to the top. Yes. If you've got questions or you'd like to reach out to me, please send a mail to imd.ogutoya@proshareng.com. If you'd like to watch more of our videos, log on to www.proshareng.com/webtv. Follow us on all our social media platforms, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in February and to enjoy Mother other interesting conversations. And until next time, thank you for watching.